Okay, so like I said, we have quite a wide variety of wood to choose from here. And also the other thing I often do is I'll be rummaging through this pile, looking for a bit of wood that I need, and then suddenly I remember, no, I have more longer wood stored outside the shed that won't fit indoors. So it's always good. Another thing to consider is to really consider all of the resources you have available, not just looking at the one pile. So this box here is full of little scrappy offcuts that I keep for various different things, often making little sticks to mix up paint or glue with. And then any other shorter offcuts that I don't want to keep on the floor, but I might still use. The only hardwood that I have is oak in here. Now, believe me when I say that at the start of when I got into woodworking and that kind of thing, I couldn't tell one wood from the other. And I still can't really, but what I can do now is identify oak quite easily. So I know that this is oak, this here is oak, and I can probably tell you where all the oak is in this pile. Everything else is softwood, be that pallet wood that I have salvaged, well, not all of it's salvaged, but be it that pallet wood that I've disassembled, or other bits and pieces that I've got from God knows where. But the point is, this stuff is hard and very, well, not difficult to work with, but it's harder to work with, and generally I use it for the nicer projects, the stuff that I want to go to a really nice, pretty finish, and then everything else we use softwood. It is literally soft. You can mark this with your fingernail. You can't mark this with your fingernail. And it's, like I say, a lot easier to work with. It breaks easier, but it's also lighter and therefore more suitable for most things. In terms of our pencil pot, we've already said that we want it to be 3 inches square. Now I do mean that to be 3 inches in total, not the internal diameter, which means that I can look for 3-inch boards. So this is a 3-inch board. And there's probably another one back here, and even in here, that's 4, that's 3, that one's 3 inches, this is 3 inches as well, and that's all we've really got in there. So just to take these 3 pieces as an example, now what I'm going to do is look at what the material is actually like. We want the boards to be straight, otherwise our pieces aren't going to go flush together, so immediately if you look down the end of that, that is pretty pringly, as I like to call it. It's a bit warped. So we're immediately going to discount that, not to mention the fact that there's glue from another project on it, and it's also got holes in the end, and also the grain structure, if you look at the end there, is not very tight. It's full of holes, which is just part of how softwood goes, but it means that this is going to be more likely to split on us. So this is going to probably end up being firewood or a mixing stick of some kind. Maybe a wedge or a scrapey thing. This piece is straighter, again a little bit warped, but it's also quite short. I won't be able to get all of the bits that I need for the pot out of this, and also I've used it in the past, so I've planed off that end for some reason, so it's got no right angles on this side. This one again is fine, but it was a pallet wood board taken from the edge of the tree. If you look there, it's got curvy edges on this side, which, like I say, we want this to be a nice rectangular stock that we're using, so I probably won't use this one. And looking at these two, any of these would be fine, either one, but this one has a bit of a dirty, skanky side on that side, so I could just flip it round, or I could use this nice clean one here. In terms of what it actually is, like I said, I don't really know. It could be pine, spruce, conifer, that kind of thing. That's what I mean by softwood, is that's what the kind of tree that it comes from, as opposed to a hardwood tree like the oak. But like I say, it doesn't really matter. Wood is wood at the end of the day. If you can put a mark in it with your fingernail, then it means it's softwood. It also tends to have a nice Christmassy smell if it's softwood, piney, and often it has a bit more sap in it, but doesn't really matter. If it works, it works. It's going to be easy to work with, and it's more appropriate for the job than a nice bit of hardwood. Now with our wood chosen, we can start to make our components and mark up for them. So I'm going to immediately look at this board and know that I've got holes from where the pallet nails were in either end and the middle. So I'm going to take my speed square, donated to me by my uncle. It's only made of plastic, but most importantly, it gives you a 90-degree surface, and it has this little T-shaped edge there that you could use to hook on the edge of the wood. So I'm going to hook it on the edge of the wood like this, and then I know that this line that I'm about to draw here is nice and square. So I'm going to bring it up just to where the nails are and draw a straight line with my carpenter's pencil. No idea where these come from. It would be probably interesting for me to do some research about why carpenter's pencils are more flat and rectangular like this. Carpenter's pencil, but again, nothing wrong with a normal pencil, to put a nice straight mark on. And that's what I'm going to then cut to get rid of that those holes there. Then moving on, I think, yeah, 4.5 inches will be fine. But then I do need to add on an extra board thickness, 5/8 of an inch, or about 17.5 millimeters. So I'll add that on to the length of what we're going to cut, and then make another little mark here for the length, and then using our speed square again to mark off one side of our little rectangular prism cuboid shaped pencil pot, because we're going to need 4 sides and the base. So I'll mark those up now. Okay, then I've marked out side 1, 2, 3 and 4 and the base, and I've labelled it as such so that we don't get confused. This is oversized, I haven't measured it accurately, but I knew that I didn't have enough space in here to make the 4th side, so I thought, well, there's plenty here for the base. Just made another mark, plenty of distance away from these holes again, and then put the 4th one over here in the fresh wood. So we're going to make a cut on each of these lines, and it's also important to note, probably another reason why the Carpenter's pencil is so thick and why it makes quite a thick line in comparison to that of, say, a normal pencil, is because you have to consider the width of your saw blade. A handsaw like this, which is a side note, also has its own built-in speed square that you can use if you don't have a proper one. Just lay that plastic edge up there on the wood, and there, draw along the back of your blade there. That will give you a straight line as well, or a 45 on this one here. That's what I used before I got mine. Anyway, thickness of a blade is going to pretty much take up that line. Now, often I will draw the line and then cut just to the outside of it, but in this occasion, because I've put all my lines on at once, I need to make sure that I cut on each line so that I have the same size pieces of wood, otherwise they'll get progressively smaller. So often I will work by just putting a line on, cutting, and if I have it in the vise, I can just shift it along in the vise a bit each time, and then always cut just to the side of the wood. That's my preferred method of working, because then if I'm a little bit off the line, I've got room to shave it down with, say, the rasp to the line where the line was, rather than making sure that I'm absolutely on the line every time. It gives me some wiggle room. But because I've gone ahead a bit and drawn all my pieces on at the start, I'm now going to have to make sure I'm nice and accurate with my sawing. So we'll do my best there.